All right. So for today, what I'm going to be doing is creating this simple rig. Just in case you ever want to create your own, or if you can't find one that works very well, I'm going to go over how to create this simple, just ball and tail rig. And I will go over the constraints and just building the entire thing. So let's go ahead and create a new scene. So delete that, create a UV sphere. This is going to be my body. Let's create a material. Technically, I'm going to create two materials. So this one is going to be orange, and this one is going to be white. So orange, let's set that to right about there. And viewport display, hover over this, hit Control C, Control V. There we go. Then I'm just going to select, these faces right here maybe. Get rid of that one. And I'm going to assign the white material. And there we go. All right. Now pull this up one. There we go. And I'm going to hit, you know what? I'm ready to start rigging. So I'm going to add a armature. And I'm actually going to scale this down. 3D cursor by 1. There we go, 0.5. Now if we open this up, we're going to have our location set weird and we're going to have our scale set weird. So what I need to do is I'm going to hit Control A and apply my location to deltas, as well as apply my scale to deltas. So now everything's back to 1 and 1. And if we check over here to our delta transforms, that is where our information is now saved. All right. Oops. Okay, so this is, I'm going to go into edit mode, and this bone I'm going to call the root. And let's open up the data. This is going to be the master. Yeah, let's call this master layer. And I'm going to add another layer, and inside this layer, I need to turn something on real quick. Let's turn on names, and let's put this in front. Actually, you know what? In front really doesn't matter at the moment. Okay, root is going to go in the master layer, and then I'm going to Shift D to duplicate this, and then I'm going to hit M to move it to the new layer, and this one I'm going to call MCH, and then I need to rename this bone MCH dash stretch. This is going to be my simple stretch bone. So now that I have my root bone on its own layer, I'm just going to hide it, and I'm pretty much going to build everything off of this particular bone. So I'm going to hit E to extrude that, and then I'm going to hit E to extrude that. Then I'm going to grab both these bones, and I'm going to hit Alt P, clear parent, and Alt P. All right, disconnect bone is good. All right, so this one I'm going to call stretch period top and stretch period bottom. That looks pretty good. So let's go into pose mode, and I'm going to hit Shift Alt C, or I'm sorry, Control Shift C. There we go. And do a stretch 2. There we go. And what that did is that applied the stretch 2 bone constraint to this object right here. And now if I move this around, you can see that he squashes and stretches. All right, so we've got that. Next thing I want to do is I want to grab this bottom bone. I need to go into edit mode, and with this bottom bone I need to select the MCH stretch bottom bone and then hit Control P and keep offset. And what this does is now both of these bones can interact with this guy right here. All right, now what I need to do, I need to be in edit mode. Actually, no, I need to be in object mode. I'm going to hit Shift S and cursor to selected. Go back to this guy, go into edit mode and hit Shift A. Now this bone is too big, so I'm going to scale that down. This one is going to be my rotation bone. Yes. Okay. So now that's called bone. I'm just going to hit F2 and rename it to rotation. And if I go to pose mode, looks good. Okay. Next thing I want to do is I want to go to object mode. I want to click on this and then shift click on this and then go into pose mode and then hit Control P and to bone. So now the object's rotation is linked to this bone. Now I'm going to go into edit mode, select that bone, select this bone. I'm going to hit Control P and keep offset. And if I pose this, what will now happen is if I rotate this and I grab this piece, it respects the rotation. It's not perfect, but for a simple enough rig, this works. All right, now back to edit mode. I'm going to hit Shift A again, and this one is going to be my center of gravity bone. So I'm going to hit F2 and call this COG. And all the center of gravity bone is going to be for is just simple editing. It's so that I can have the root bone on its own, and then I can have the center of gravity, and everything will be parented to it so it can move. And the root bone is just going to be mostly for translations and things like that. Think of it as the master control bone. Or maybe the translation bone. Maybe that's what I should call it. I don't know. Who knows? You can call it whatever you want. But I've got the center of gravity. In fact, I am going to call this the master control bone, because that's the one that is going to be, pretty much everything is going to be parented to outside of the root. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Now for this, what I need to do is, I think I'm ready to start posing this stuff. Okay, so the rotation is parented to him. This guy needs to be parented to the center of gravity. The top needs to get parented to the center of gravity. And I think that's it. Let me see. So if I grab the center of gravity bone, oh, nope, okay. This then needs to get parented to the center of gravity. Perfect. Let's see if that worked. So if I grab this, nope. Okay, that still squashes and stretches. This now moves. So what happened to you? Oh, okay. I think I know. So if I parent this to that, I don't need to parent this because it is technically parented this, and this is then parented to that. Okay. Pose mode, let's see. Yep, squash, squash, and movement, and rotation. Perfect. So if I hit A, I can hit Alt G, R, S, and that'll just clear out all of the movement, rotation, and scale. And that is pretty much it for the ball section, I think. Although now what I need to do is I need to go in, grab this bone, and then hit Control I, and then hit M to the master layer. So now this guy's kind of on his own, which is fine. That's actually kind of what I want. And then what I need to do is in edit mode, go to the center of gravity and then shift click the root bone and parent that to the root bone. So now, oops, when I go to pose mode, the root bone is the master control bone, and the master control bone, there we go. Yeah, so the root I could technically call something else if I really wanted to. I can call it the master translation bone if I really wanted to. But I will call this the, I'll leave it as the root bone. All right, so that is pretty much it for the rigging side of at least the ball section, because now actually what I need to do is I need to hit turn this all back on. I'm going to hit A to select all my bones. Then I'm going to alt click on the XYZ Euler, and then I can hide the master control handle bone again. And now what that gives me is it just locks everything to an XYZ rotation, and I no longer have the quinterian or a quaternion rotation. And squash and stretch, I'm going to lock everything except for the up and down movement, and I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom. So there we go. All right. And now for the rotation bone, I'm going to lock everything except basic rotations. The center of gravity or the master control bone, I'm going to, I don't need to really do anything to that one. So I think I have everything the way I want it. Because I want this to still be able to like be the, I guess I should call this one the center of gravity. So let me actually just change that. Yeah, I like center of gravity makes sense because that's where like everything is going to rotate from. It's going to be the tail end of that bone. This I can't do anything with except up and down. And rotation I can lock to X, Y, or Z. Okay. I think that's it. Cool. Now I'm going to hit Control 1 to add a subdivision surface to this surface right here. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift A, and I'm going to actually start building the widgets for this, just to make this a little bit more appealing. So what I'm going to do is go into my Z-frame. I'm going to hit Shift A, and I'm going to add a circle. And with this circle, this is going to be my master control. There's several ways we can actually go about doing this, and you know what? I have an idea that I think will work a little bit better. So I'm going to go to plane. Scoot that over and change this to individual origins, scale that down. And I'm going to delete only faces. So now I'm just working with a cube. Okay. So I'm going to hit Control R. And I'm going to add a mirror modifier, actually. And XY. Okay. So I can hit Control B and V. Ooh, that's a little weird. Oh, I know what's going on. Okay, I'll just build half of this and mess with it later. So I'm gonna hit E, X to lower that in, and I'm gonna hit X to delete edges. Then I'm gonna hit E again, X, and I'm gonna hit E, S, Y. Medium point, scale that out. There we go. And I'm just going to grab these internal edges and delete them. So now I've just got a bunch of floating verts. Grab all these, hit M at center. There we go. And again, you can customize this any way you want. I'm just showing you one of the ways. I mean, I'm doing something a little different than what I usually do, but for the sake of this, this should work out just fine. So that's going to go there. And this can go right there. And I'm going to hit A, M by distance. And I'm actually going to delete these two vertices. Yes. Okay. Then I'm going to grab these. And I'm going to hit Control B, V. And now I can do a, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit A and do a spin along the, oh, it's a little far away. So I'm going to undo that, hit Shift S and cursor to, nope, Shift S, cursor to selected. There we go. Okay. Spin, use duplicates, and I only want 4. And I want the full 360 degrees. Then I just hit Enter, W, hit A, M by distance, and what ends up happening when you use the spin and you give 4 is it will overlay the one of these on top of your original object. So you just need to merge the vertices on top of each other and it'll clear it out. So now all I have to do is grab these 4 points and I can either scale these in Or I can just bevel these again to create whatever kind of design I want. And I must say that actually looks pretty good. So I am happy with that. Shift S, cursor to world origin again. And this one I am going to snap to world origin just to bring it back to where it was. So selection to cursor. All right. So that is going to be my master control handle. Next one is going to be my center of gravity control. And I'm going to keep that one relatively simple. So I'm going to punch this up to 64. Go into edit mode. And I'm going to grab, actually I'm going to hit A, Shift D, and then just scale everything down. And I'm going to grab these 2 points right here and then just scale that in. So that will be my center of gravity. Scoot that over. And I'm going to add another one for the stretch widget, and that I'm going to create a plane with. So I'm pretty much going to create this triangle again, except with just a plane. So I'm going to hit X and do faces. Oops. X. Only faces. That way I still have my vertices. Go into top view. A, scale this down, and I'm actually going to pull this up away from the center pivot. And the reason for that being is because when I go to apply it, it's going to be a little bit off. So let's do merge at center. And then I can do a simple, there we go. Pull that down. And then I can hit X and edges. Pull this down. Grab these points and BV, control BV, and I can soften that. And I can grab these edges and do the same thing. Control BV and lower those just a little bit. All right, so there is my stretch coordinates, and I can go in here and just kind of make it a little squatter if I really wanted to, which I think is what I want to do. I want to bring this up at least. And I'm going to grab this. Oh, I actually kind of like that. Little mushroom tip, mushroom head. And I can always merge back at center again and then just bevel it again. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, next one is going to be the rotation widget. So the rotation widget is just going to be another circle. And in this circle, I am going to, let's actually double this. So I'm gonna hit Shift A, let's add a circle. Instead of 64, I'm gonna do 128. And what that's gonna do is give me a lot of vertices, but I am gonna end up getting rid of quite a few of them. And the reason for that is because, let's make this a little stubby. So I've taken out, let's see, one, actually here we go. Let's hit Control and plus on our number pad. Right there, that looks pretty good. Vertices. I'm gonna hit A, Shift D, and then do an Alt S. Oh, turn this off, Alt S. There we go. Grab these two, hit F, and grab these two, hit F. No, don't hit F there. This I can merge at last, and this I can pull out like that. And I'm going to hit Control BV on both of these. And I can hit Control BV right here, lower that. And Control BV right here. Then I can hit A, M by distance, just to clear up any extra edges. Sweet. All right, let's do a quick spin. And for the spin, I just need to have, I'm just going to click on this, do 1, not 1, 2, and use duplicates. Perfect, 360 degrees. So now I've got one on both the bottom and the top. Technically, I can leave just one, but I kind of like the symmetry of this widget. It's up to you how you want to do this, but I kind of like this one a little better. Oh yeah, A, M by distance, just to clear up those last few vertices. And now, scoot that over there. There is my list of widgets. Let's go ahead and start applying them. So I'm going to go to pose mode. I'm going to click the center of gravity bone, come down to viewport display. Here we go, custom shape. And this is the center of gravity, so I'm going to grab that one. And if it's ever off, it's actually pretty easy to fix. All you have to do is go into here in edit mode, select everything, rotate X, and then 90 degrees, or whatever degree that you need, and it will rotate it directly where it needs to be. So there's that one. And now in here, this is going to be the stretch bottom. I'm going to grab that, and that actually worked out fairly well, except I need to move it again. So I'm going to hit A, Y, and there we go. So now it's pushed away from the bone a little bit. Right about there should work. And now for the top, I'm going to grab the same exact widget, and it's going to flip it because they are both facing different directions. Okay, the root bone is going to be this guy right here. That needs to get flipped. So tab ARX 90. And if you ever need to feel like you need to scale these up, you can scale them up here, or you can come into here, and this is just custom shapes, so it's not actually going to affect your rig. You can just select all of this and then scale it up here, up or down, whatever you need to do. So I'm going to grab this one, and I'm actually going to scale this one down just a little bit. Right about there. And this one I'm going to scale up a little bit. There we go. Now for the rotation side of things, that one is already pretty easy. We have it built right here. Custom shape is going to be that one. And I need to grab the scale of these and push that up just a little bit. And I can even rotate this if I really wanted to or needed to. So I can set this to be perfectly on the side, and then grab all of this and just scale it up again so that it's going a little bit outside of my center of gravity. So that looks pretty good. All right, let's go to object mode. Let's select all of these widgets, move them into a new collection, and call it widgets. Then hit OK. Now I can turn those off. And I have my bouncing ball. And if you ever need to test it, all you have to do is hit Control Tab and just hit G and start messing around with your keys and locations and things like that. Yeah, be a little careful getting things too close. This is overlapping, so it's going to invert it. All right, now if we wanted to add colors, this is actually pretty easy. So while you're in pose mode and under the viewport display, we actually have different color themes that we can add to this. So my master control bone is going to be, or my root bone is going to be red. My center of gravity, I can set that to be like green. My rotation, I can set to be, I don't know, purple. And my squash and stretch, I can set this to be, let's do pink. And if you ever need to copy it over, you can Alt left click on this and it will apply it to both, or you can click on this little button right here and it'll just apply it to whatever you have selected. So now that I have those set up, I can actually turn off the names and I can also turn off the relationship lines, but at the moment I need to start moving into adding in the tail. So right now I just have the basic bouncing ball rig and I want to move into the tail bit. So I'm going to go to object mode, go into a side profile view, and I want my tail to have perfectly quad meshed geometry. So I'm going to do this in a very specific way. I'm going to hit Shift A, mesh, and I'm going to add in a plane. And then I'm going to go into that plane in edit mode, and I'm going to hit M and then at center. So now what I've got is this one vert that I can work with. Then I'm going to go back to object mode, and I'm going to go over to my modifiers tab. I'm going to add a generate skin modifier. Then I'm going to add a edit or a generate again and do a subdivision surface, and I'm going to pump this up to 2. So what this allows me to do is I will show you in 1 second. I'm going to hit Shift S, cursor to selected, and then hit Shift S, snap selection to cursor. And then I'm going to pull this out right about here, go into edit mode again, and now I have that one vert that I can extrude. And I'm going to extrude this just straight out. So EX, and I can hit Shift R to just do it a couple times. And I think 4 is a good amount. And to shrink or to adjust the scale of these points individually, you can hit Control A. And now you can actually start creating whatever kind of tail that you want. But I'm going to bring this down to be like I had in my other image or my other rig, and it's going to be like a fox's tail. So I can just shrink this down. And there's that. And you can make it as long or as thick as you really want it to be, but I'm going to hit A and then just change this to be active element, and then just kind of scale this down a little bit. And then I'm going to hit Control A and then shrink everything down just a little bit. That way I have it's a stubbier tail. It's not quite as long. However, I do need to pull this inside the mesh just a little bit further. All right. So there that is. Let's shade smooth. And now that I have this done, I can hit Control A and when I'm hovering over my modifier just to apply them. And now, as you can see, I have perfectly quad meshed tail. There we go, shade smooth. Alrighty, so let's add our 2 materials. This first one is going to be my orange material, and then my second one is going to be that white material. And I'm going to apply that white material to the tip of this tail. And you can do it in multiple different ways. You can add it at like a striped value if you really wanted to. And I think that's actually pretty good what I have right there. So next bit is let's start adding in our bones. Because what we need to do now is we need to rig this mesh to this armature. Because right now it's not attached. So with this object, I'm going to select, I'm going to hit Alt-Z, I'm going to go inside, and I'm just going to select this one vert right here, hit Shift-S, cursor to selected. And the reason I put the cursor there is because I wanted to have the, I want the new bone to come in right there. So click on my rig, hit Tab to go into edit mode, and I'm going to hit Alt-Z so that I can see through everything. Then I'm going to hit Shift-A. I'm going to grab the entire bone, rotate along the Y-axis, 90, perfect. And I'm actually going to turn my names back on so I can see what I'm doing. And there's several ways that we can do this. We can either just bring this in right here and just start extruding bones out, which is perfectly viable. Or we can take the bone all the way out to the end, and then we can click on it and just subdivide the bone. Now it's important that you rename it. So I'm going to click on the bone, hit F2, and I'm going to call it tail period 1. Now if I subdivide this, you will see tail period 1 and then tail.002, and the more that you subdivide this, you will get more bones. However, they're going to be out of order. So I'm just going to hit F2 and call this one tail.1. And instead of doing the subdivision, I'm actually going to just extrude this out. So I'm going to hit E, X, E, X, E, X. And I'm going to do one more bone just for the little tip of the tail. E and X. And you, however many bones you want is entirely up to you. I prefer to have at least 4 to 5 bones, just so I can get some nice curves going on in here. In fact, I might want to actually get rid of one of these bones. So I'm going to hit Control X, and I'm just going to even these scales up a little bit. So I'm going to put that one right there, and that one right there, and that one right there. And I need to move this to about here. Now I'm going to leave that actually, yeah, let's move that out right there. All right. Now, with this setup as it is, I can start, I'm going to grab the tailbone, and these bones are already parented to this main bone right here. So this one is the one that just needs to get parented. So all I have to do, select that bone, grab the center of gravity, and I'm going to hit Control P and keep offset. And now if I go to pose mode, grab the center of gravity, you will see the tail follows with it, as well as, actually it needs to be parented to the rotation, I think. Yes, it does. Okay, so that's actually a pretty easy fix. Let's go back into edit mode. Let's click the rotation, grab U, grab the rotation, and then I'm going to hit Control P and keep offset. Very good. All right, so now that is good. And because I have the squash and stretch attached to it, it will squash and this will still move and rotate. Perfect. All right. Now the fun part. Go to object mode, select the tail, select the rig, hit Control P, and with automatic weights. Now what this will do is, depending on how you have your rig set up, is if you select the model now, you will have a whole bunch of vertex groups. And what I want to do is I want to remove the stretch top. I want to remove the root, the center of gravity, the stretch bottom, the MCH stretch, and the rotation. The only thing that I want to have any information on this particular object is going to be the tail. So to check how that looks, all we have to do is go into weight paint mode. And this is our first bone, our second bone, our third bone, and our fourth bone. We are all set and ready. And in order to check this out, we can go into object mode and then go into our rig and start playing around and see what it does. Perfect. It is squashing my mesh, rotating it, and rotating this guy right here. And if I grab this tail, it will rotate along that. And if I shift click and grab each one of those, I need to change my transform pivot to individual origins or median point. And I'm actually going to do individual origins. If I do individual origins, it will wave like a tail. So if I hit A, I'm going to hit Alt R, G, and S. All right, now next bit is just adding in the widgets. So I'm going to hit Shift A, or actually I need to go into object mode. There we go. Shift A, mesh. And for the tail, I'm going to do something very simple. I'm just going to do a circle. I'm actually Shift S, cursor to world origin, and then selection to cursor. There we go. And now with this tail, I can go into pose mode and find the bone, custom object, and select the circle. And I'm actually going to do that for every single one of these pieces right here, or bones. So they're all going to reference the same object. However, because it's referencing the same object, we're going to run into the problem of this being the wrong direction. But because they're using all the same object, it's actually pretty easy to fix. RX90, perfect. Then I can scale this down just so it's not taking up so much room. And let's turn on our widgets again. There they are. Let's just set that right there and then move it into the widgets collection. And then I can turn it off again. Now, let's readjust the size of these bones. So scale, just scale that down a little bit. Grab this one. Grab these. And scale that down a little bit. Or technically, I could have them all at the same scale if I really wanted to, but I feel like it following the geometry just makes a little bit more sense. This one, though, I'm going to move out here just to make this a little easier to read. Although what's going to end up happening is because I've moved it, it's going to look a little strange when I go to use it. So if I hit like Control Tab and go into pose mode, if I rotate it, it's not going to rotate in the manner that I'm expecting. Although that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like the center of the rig doesn't have to be exactly centered on the bone. So I think I'm actually kind of happy with that. Let's scale that up. And let's scale this down, actually. All right, and then select this tailbone, and default color is going to be the orange, and copy it. Perfect. There is my ball and tail rig. Object mode, Alt-Z. There we go. Grab my armature, and I'm going to change the names. Now, if this ends up looking a little too cluttered, or you feel like you need to turn things off, or you need to move things, it's actually fairly easy. I'm going to go back into pose mode. I'm just going to select these bones right here, and I'm going to hit M, new collection, and call this tail. And I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to keep the MCH hidden. And what this allows me to do is I can turn on and off each one of these layers so that they're not quite as distracting. So if I'm just focused on the ball, I can turn off the tail rig, and I can just, you know, set my keys, set my rotation, that kind of stuff. All right. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm hoping to do maybe a little bit more live streams. I find this to be a little bit easier. I don't have to worry about editing. I don't have to worry about, you know, slapping a whole bunch of stuff together. I don't have to worry. It's just a little bit of stress off my mind. I'm already doing a whole bunch of other projects. So if this is a form of content that you guys want to see more of, let me know in the comments under this video, and I will see if I can start doing more of these. But for now, that is the end of this stream. And unless, you know what, unless maybe I should do a little bit of an animation with this to show the rig working. I think I am going to do that. I'm going to turn off relationship lines because they're ugly and annoying. And let's start posing. So what this is this gives me, I can move this up and down, like this can control my vertical movements, and this can control my X, Y, and Z motion. And actually, I think that's probably what I want to lock. So I'm going to lock the rotation of this main, of the root bone right there, so it will never move. And I think I'm going to lock the Z axis because I just want this to move along. Oop. There we go. So now it's just moving along the ground. I don't know why. That is a little funky, actually. I want to see what the reason for that is. For some reason, locking the Y locks the Z axis. So maybe this is like a thing between Blender. Let me see if changing this will change it. So X, Z, Y. Nope, that didn't change nothing. Okay. I have no idea why it locks it like that. It's kind of weird, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Rest position. Can't move anything. Pose position right over there. Rest position will bring it back to 0. Cool. So Alt G will move everything back. All right. Rotate. Now with the tail turned off, I can do a simple squash and stretch animation of it like looking around a little bit. So I'm going to hit I. Actually, you know what? Let's go to here. Let's rotate. I rotation, and then at frame, let's do 10. This should actually be on frame 0. I don't like how it starts me at 1, 0. So at frame 10, I can hit Alt R and I need to change my keying. So let's set this to location, rotation, and scale. All right. Oh, actually, I shouldn't be using it on these. Okay. Let's start over. All right. Let's rotate this along the z-axis. Then I can hit I or Alt R I. Oh, I haven't animated in a long time. All right. So right about here, I'm going to hit I. And then at here, I'm going to rotate this to look down. And then I can hit Alt R and I. So now it's like whoop, 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 whoop. Perfect. And then I can hit Alt R I to bring it back. And that I can spline. All right. Next, I want to add some squash and stretch. Oops. Next, I want to add some squash and stretch. So on this frame, I'm going to hit I. And on this frame, I'm going to squish it down. I at frame 20. I'm going to hit Alt G, keyframe that. So a little bit of squash and stretch, just a little bit of boop, boop. And what I'm going to do is right around here, let's squash him again. And then bring him back. Perfect. Boop, boop, boop. So I'm going to set this to 30. Whoa, not 3, 30. Let's actually set that to like 40. Because I want to have some overlapping animation with the tail. So that's just some basic animation going on right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this rig and open up this rig. And now what I can do is I can just grab all of this, rotate it down, and rotate it to the side. And keyframe that. And then as it turns to 20, I'm going to do it at frame like 10. I want this to be like stretched. And then at frame 20, it's going to, at 25, there we go, it's going to flip out back over here. Let's see how that looks. Around frame 30. Let's do 33. Let's do Alt R on everything. And then rotate along the Y. Let's go ahead and play that. Okay, I don't quite like that keyframe. Delete keyframe. Oops. Clean keyframes, clean channels. So I'm going to hit Alt-I, delete keyframe. There we go. Is that woof? Woof. I think that's actually why they have a nose on these things typically. So to compensate for that, let's go into object mode. Let's get this, select my rig, get it into rest position, and let's give it a nose. Let's do an extrusion right here, scale it down. And right here, that, and then what I can do is add just one more material. And this one is going to be black, assign, and Control C, Control V, scale that up. All right, I think that is at least good enough for our purposes. I mean, what I could technically do is grab this loop right here, right click, loop tools, circle, and then Control B to just bevel it a little bit. There we go. It's the most ridiculous looking thing I've ever seen. But what it does is it gives me a point of reference to understand where the object is pointing. Perfect. So as it rotates back, my tail can, let's go to pose mode. Let's do a round frame 36 or 35. Let's have it scale back just a little bit. And then at frame 40. There we go. All right, let's take a look. Not the most amazing thing in the world, but again, it's kind of cool. Yeah, it goes like from down to just up. So I can fix that with splining, but I'm not too concerned. It's just to make sure that the actual rig is working properly, and it looks like it is. So I'm happy with it, and I hope you all are happy with it. And have fun making this rig, and I will see you guys later.